Hey everyone, so today I just wanted to film a quick video to give you a couple of tips on winter running. So the truth is, I always thought people who ran in the winter were batshit crazy. Why the hell would you want to run in the snow? Unfortunately, I am now one of those people, so that's mildly depressing. But I have learned a lot. Now I will write a big blog post on this eventually, but it probably won't come out until next year, so I just wanted to go over a few tips and tricks that I've learned myself this year. So this was my first year running in the winter, and I do live in Canada, so winter is intense. There's been a lot of snow and a lot of ice this year, so it's been a little bit of an interesting journey, but here are a couple things I learned. The first is about layers. This is common sense, but dress appropriately. Now, I love my winter jacket, but to run in my winter jacket would kill me. So instead what I do is I throw on a pair of tights and then a pair of waterproof hiking pants over them that I can move in. I normally wear long socks because I'm a freak like that. And then I have a long sleeve shirt, a sweater, my windbreaker, and a vest. So make sure your clothes are waterproof. Obviously, if it's snowing or if it's freezing rain, you're going to get wet. It's not comfortable to run in sagging wet clothes. And then make sure that your layers aren't heavy. You do want them to be light. The other thing about clothes is your socks. You don't want to run with wet feet, it sucks, and normally you're running through the snow. So I personally have thermal socks that I wear and haven't had a problem with them. I love them. And then your hands. So the first time that I ran in colder temps, not full winter, I didn't even think about my hands and they freaking froze. Wear gloves and throw a hat on. My other piece of advice when it comes to dressing is to have a hood. So this is personal preference. I can't stand when the wind gets underneath of my hat, so I like to have my hat on plus a hood, so it kind of works as a little bit of a windbreaker. So dress appropriately. Obviously, with that, if you're running in the night, comes reflectors and all of that. Now, footwear. I honestly just run in my regular running shoes. That said, I run a little bit differently. So when it comes to running shoes, you can get winterized running shoes, or you can get spikes for your running shoes to help you get better grip, especially if you're trail running or running on a lot of ice. So look into proper footwear for that. But like I said, I ran this whole year with my regular running shoes and it worked great. Now when it comes to running, the way you run in the winter is going to be very, very different from any other time. You can't take big strides. You can't do a push-off because you're going to slip and fall. So my idea in my mind was to learn to run a lot more bouncy, is the way I call it. So you do want to be upright, your stride length is a little bit shorter, and you need to think of going up versus pushing your foot backwards because that's where you fall. The other thing to make sure of is just pay attention to where you run. So personally for me, running on snow wasn't too bad, but running on compacted snow was a little bit slipperier and drove me insane. So play around with what works best for you. Now we've had a lot of freezing rain this year, so it's been tricky regardless. So make sure that you just are not pushing off, especially with your back foot, because you're gonna slip, you're gonna tear something, twist the knee, and obviously that's not the purpose of running in the winter. Keep in mind that your runs are gonna be a lot different. So running in the winter is very hard. It requires a little bit more strength and it's a little bit more taxing. So when you're first starting out, if you can run for a 5K easy in the summertime or in nice easy weather, and all of a sudden in the winter you can only get 3K before you're breathless and your legs hurt, that's wise. It's just harder. There's a lot of little things that go into winter running, and the truth is it's best to just experiment with what works for you. That is my biggest tip, is to just get out there, dress appropriately, and remember that you're probably going to be a little bit wet, so wear water resistant everything, but just get out, trial and error kind of what works for you, and expect the first few weeks of getting used to running in the winter to be a little bit awkward, to kind of have to catch your breath a little bit more, or to have to strip down as you get used to your layering. I always dress about 15 degrees warmer, as if it was 15 degrees warmer than it really is, just because I can't stand getting super, super hot under layers and layers and layers while I'm running. So play around with it, tweak it, but remember to stay safe, watch the way that you step down, watch your stride length, and to keep any extremity that's out there a little bit protected.